let's roll. Co-pilot on the passenger side, be so fly. Yeah, she so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. Co-pilot on the passenger side, be so fly. Yeah, she so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. She give me a bit of her love. Yo, what up, y'all? Welcome to another one, man. It's your boy, Rod One, and this is Sparking Conversation, and y'all know what I do each and every week, man. I get up here and I talk to some of the world's most interesting people, and tonight I'm going to do the same thing. But before we get into that, y'all know I got to do the same thing I do every week and give a special shout out to all the people that download the audio version of this platform. Again, I appreciate y'all so much because that's where the magic happens when it comes down to this platform game. It is not this visual part. Yes, this visual part helps, and yes, you utilize it and you do everything you can to maximize your monetization goals, right? But at the end of the day, when it comes down to the platforming, when it comes down to podcasting, it's the audio. All right? That's what you need to be focused on. That's what you own, the conversation. Right? Because, just say, for example, you're on Facebook or you're on these other places and you just hold your platforms there. You just go live there. And then if they decide to do whatever they do, and then your platform no longer exists. But see, the one thing about the streaming services, right, that people are going to listen is for audio. And that's the main thing you got to realize. If you follow the money, I tell y'all on this platform all the time, like, it's not so much whether you want to feel like a person is right or wrong, or you feel like you know more than a person or not. All you got to do is tell the people, all right, bet. So just follow the money. And if you follow the money, then you can understand how it goes. So if you research, if you do platform and podcasting or whatever, go research the top podcasters. Find out how they got their deal. All this stuff is public information. And a lot of times down to the number of the deal that they got. It's all public information. Go look at it. And it's all based on, boom, their audio, not their YouTube, not all this other stuff that people talk about. Yes, that stuff helps now, yeah, because people get to see and put a face to who they hear or whatever. That's dope. But what I'm saying to you is that how they got these deals and how their brand was able to move was not based on whether they had the flyest studio or the biggest setup or the best microphone. It was the audio. It was from people actually listening to the conversation. And I tell people a lot, don't put yourself in a box. You can never tell yourself no. Let them tell you no, but don't tell yourself no. If there are books still selling by the millions every day of people who sit down and read, then you got to think about it. Then that's just as many people that are listening to your podcast or listen to a audio of anything. And then think about it. The books that sell, let's add in, a lot of them are audio books as well, too. So people sitting down listening to books, an audio book, 300-400 pages. You get what I'm saying? Taking them a week to get through it. But whatever the vibe is, they're going to get through it. That's how they consume it. That's how they do. People, a lot of times people use their imagination when you read books because you're able to picture what you're reading, right? So it's a thing. So don't ever think that because you got an hour podcast or 2-hour long podcast or whatever that, man, ain't nobody going to listen to it. They just want to look at you, then you bugging, because it's mad people out here that look like something, right? Or don't look like nothing. At the same time, they still going to be on the chopping block if any of those platforms decide to say, nah, we ain't doing this no more. Facebook changes their algorithm almost every other month. So, at the end of the day, if you guys are not in where you're supposed to be when it comes down to it. So listen, all the audio downloaders, thank y'all, man. I appreciate y'all, man. And for those of y'all that do this platform game and y'all want to get y'all stuff where it need to be, Apple, Spotify, all the places people consume, click the link in the description, RSS feeds. Go ahead and start for free. And then from there, just put yourself in a position, right, to be where you're supposed to be. And that's just vibes, yo. All right, back. All right, so let's get into this real quick because I got to get into my rant and then I got to bring up my guests, right? Because we're going to talk investing, tech, stuff that I talk about on this platform all the time, and the fact that I get those people that are experts that are able to come, and it's so crazy how it happens because, it's a thing. You put yourself out there and you ask to speak to people, and then when the people come based on things that you research, it's only confirmation that you're in your right space and you're in your purpose. So we're going to get into that conversation in a minute. But let's see. All right, so
with all the people that has been pushing play on our content recently, all the comedy content, thank y'all, man. The therapy going wrong. I've been getting mad inboxes, all kind of messages. People have been saying they like that, they love it, they love the way it's looking, everything. Thank y'all, right? Definitely, thank y'all. And the numbers are proving that, because right now we're doing around 16,000 views in a matter of 28 days or so per month, and that's just on the content. And at one point, I was only dropping 2 videos every month, right? But we had multiple, but now the clip is so loaded, I just do one new one every week, which brings me to the latest one for this week, which is Therapy Going Wrong Part 16, featuring my girl Cece. And I want y'all to go push play on that. Yes, it's pinned to the top of my Facebook page if you're on connected with me, which you should be. And if you're on YouTube, you know the vibe, Team Collective TV, and it's up there, right? And let's check us out. All right, outside of that, y'all know this too. We got to fight. We got to do everything we can to help ourselves. Health is wealth. I promise y'all, we're not going to get the solutions for the things that are bothering us if we don't first pay attention to what it is that's bothering us, right? So, with that being said, to all of y'all know on the platform I've been speaking for the last few weeks about you guys, look up the effects of parasites in the body, right? And once you figure that out, compare it to how you feel. Compare it to the things that you may be dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And if those things match, then I want y'all to click the link in the description so you guys can do what you need to do to get that up out of you. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's all it is. This is not trying to be a medical professional, a doctor, and none of that other stuff. What I'm saying to y'all is that nobody is coming to save us at all. We got to save ourselves. And the one thing we got to believe that if there's something that they use from this earth to hurt us, then there are things that are on this earth to help us. So you just got to pay attention to that. The vibe is information. The vibe is not the force. They say you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And that's the point. You're not supposed to make them drink. You're just supposed to let them know where it is. It's up to them, just like anybody else. And with all the chemtrails and everything else that's been going on, they've been talking about the microplastics, the aluminum, everything that's going on in your body. You guys have to be in a position where you can get rid of those things. So there you go. I'm telling y'all, find out what these things are, check yourself, match it up, help yourself. That's just the bottom line. You know what I'm saying? Clicking the links in the description and getting more information is not going to hurt you. Nothing is free, right? Because you paid for the junk food that you put in your body, right? You paid for whatever it is that you went to buy that caused you to be this way, eating raw food or whatever you can to put these things in there. You pay for it. So pay to get it out. You know what I'm saying? That's the vibe. But get the information, right? Because technically, as much as we want to blame the people that are in the higher places that are doing these things to us, we also got to take responsibility for us consuming. How many people really walk through the grocery store and read the packaging, figure out what things are? Y'all got y'all smartphones. You should be able to screenshot this. What does this mean? What is the definition of glucose gum? Or what the hell is that, right? You can do that. That's what you got your phone. But most people only use their phones to be nosy and pay attention to other people's lives and compare it to theirs. Like that really matter. Like people ain't showing you the cake, but not showing you the oil and the eggs and the flour and all the nasty shit that go in the cake that make the cake good in the end. They don't tell you that part. But anyway, that's not it. I got a whole thing I need to talk about, so let me not go too far ahead of that. We don't wait, we create. It is going down April 18th. If you're in the Raleigh area, we need models, actors, actresses, clothing designers, script concept writers, brand ambassadors, directors, videographers, booking and casting agents, podcasters, and the whole nine. If you got a business, you want to get in front of the people, we got vendor slots, or you could just come catch a vibe with the people and bring your marketing material. Here's the thing, because what we're doing is we're building a coalition of people who actually are working or putting in the work, not people who want to be seen and just want to talk about it or hold titles. If anybody follows me, I tell you, do your research on anybody that say what they do. If they say they do something, it will reflect when you see them, when you look them up, when you research them, it'll reflect it. Don't fall for that whole, well, no, my page is for the, no, that's corny. What do you have social media for if not to monetize? They're monetizing off of you. Don't you look at your phone every 5 minutes or 2 minutes, however much you look and don't see an advertisement? How many of y'all clicked on any of those advertisements and bought anything? So if that's the case, they're using you. Why wouldn't you put yourself in a position to get something from you being used? You just I don't know. But at the end of the day, that's the vibe, and that's what we're doing. So if you're in the area, y'all know what to do. All y'all got to do is hit me up at the collectivevisions1@gmail.com. Put network in the description or in the subject, or you could go to thecollectiveevents.net and just RSVP. And you'll get on the list, and we're not giving out the actual address, but only to the people who RSVP. That's the vibe, right? We're not trying to put a whole bunch of people in there that don't need to be there. We want people there who want to be there. All right, so now that I got that out the way, let me get through my rant real quick because I gotta bring my guest on. So I've been getting a lot of messages about different things, but before I get into that, I want to say this because just today, man, it's another RIP that I gotta give to my boy Woodrow. Man, just last week it was Ciroc Pop, and then now with my boy Woodrow, and it's something about that, right? It's something about whenever people say that somebody is something to them, your boy or it's my man, we cool and all this other stuff. But then there's those when you use that term and then you really have the memories and you have just the receipts to prove it, right? And then it's so much of people that we be around, like so much time that we spend with certain people. And then at that point, you just grow apart. It's no problems. There's no drama. You're going different places because the things that brought us together is what we love to do. And that's just what I had to think about when it comes down to it, is that everybody that's around me, I look at it and from this perspective, like what drew us together was our gift. Like that's something to think about. Like it's not really a person that's in my life that's not important, that we didn't come together, like because we were all in our operating in our gift, right? Operating in what's inside of us, right? And then not being afraid to express that and be that and put ourselves in position in these rooms. And then this is how you meet these people. Because even with Woodrow, like when I first met him was my first movie ever that I was in. It was me, him, and two other guys, and we starred in this movie. It was an independent film. The film never came out, let's be real. But the fact of the experience of being on set and all these other things for the first time, you know what I mean? That was like almost 20 years ago. And to be in that position with people, and then from there, it was so much going on with the music that we've done and I've done, and shows and just things. And these people were around, and this person was around me. I mean, hanging with me personally at houses. We was going back and forth to different places, celebrating things for people's families. These are different things that I've celebrated, seeing people, around when their children was first born and all this other stuff, like all of these things. And then to hear that they're no longer here, and then you looking at yourself and then you trying to figure out how much time you got. And I think that's the hardest thing about that, right? Is that when you start to look at people around you in your area, in your age, and they start to do this thing where they're starting to pass away, and then you start to look at yourself. And I think where that comes into a play for me is that it just reinforces how I feel, like versus me out here trying to make and please people. I'm not. I want to pass away empty. And what I mean by that is that all of these things that are inside of me that I feel like it's supposed to be there, out, given, I want to get it all out. Not hold nothing in. And I'm not paying attention to the way other people view their life. Because right now we in fear. Everybody is talking about fear because the messages that I've been getting, I'm about to shift over real quick, right? Because the messages I've been getting is everybody been talking about the war and the deadline and the thing that's supposed to be going on right now at 8 o'clock. If you don't make it and what's going to go on in Iran. And I seen people, videos of Iranian people who are fleeing to the mountains, right? Because of them actually believing what's getting ready to happen, right? I see them just trying to get themselves out the way, just trying to survive because they can't go nowhere. They got to stay there. The regime that been there got them in a chokehold to the point where nobody want to accept them and all that other shit. So they just got to be there and deal with it. So I seen that. Then I see what's going on over here where everybody is ready to say, yo, impeach this guy do all this other stuff and everything else. And I'm trying to figure out, like, whenever we think about these things, and they're saying that if he do blow up the spot over there, that they blaming everybody that voted for him. Like, the people who voted for him is the real reason why he's in there. Like, the fact that y'all even still think that voting is the reason why he's there is crazy to me. There's no sides. They all working together, y'all. There's no sides. So while we screaming, the Democrats are over here talking about impeach him, and then like, they working together. It's all emotional based, because what are they going to do? They're going to enact things. They're moving things in now. The watered down gas. They'll never go back to not having watered down gas after this because of our emotions. Now think about this, y'all. I talked about this. No, somebody saw a clip that I put up when I was interviewing Vincent Ward, the actor from Walking Dead and all that. I put the clip up and we were talking in that conversation about a couple of things where people said, Rod, that ain't true. What you mean? They ain't vote against slavery and all this other shit. I said, I bet. So I got something for y'all. So here's the first headline. Right? The U.S. rejects the UN vote to recognize slavery as the greatest crime against humanity. Right? So I cited my source. That's Revolt. But, of course, there's other places that you guys can go look at. But whenever people say that, yo, what you mean? Why are you saying that? I'm saying this. 123-3 in favor to condemn the enslavement of millions of Africans in the transatlantic slave trade, and three countries voted against it. Who? USA, Israel, and Argentina. So let me ask y'all something. Who's the representative from the United States that said, nah, we ain't voting for that, when they got all of these brown and black people that are on the front lines fighting these wars and stuff like that? Like, who was the squad from the United States that was like, nah, we ain't gonna put that vote in. We're gonna say, nah, that ain't it. As much as they benefited off of the continental slave trade that happened just in the United States alone. I was like, yo, so what is it that we are? What is it that we are to take pride in as a group of people, right? What side are y'all picking? Like, why is there a side that y'all picking besides the side of understanding that none of them is for us? None of them. It's on you. You can feel any type of way about what I'm saying. It's not the Bob. I'm not here to argue with people. The proof is in the pudding. Israel is the real reason why they're at war right now with Iran. They trying to do some type of prophecy and get it through and force this shit through that wasn't on the agenda. They trying to make it happen. So if that's the case and they're using the United States, why? Because of all the information they got on the people that's over here in power. So they're using them as a muse to say that. But in the interim, think about this. Whenever they was talking about stolen identity, why would Israel vote against it? And that's the one thing I bet none of y'all will go research. I bet you. You know why? Because when people say stuff like that, you worried about somebody calling you anti-Semitic, and we ain't saying that. We're saying, who are they? If that's the case, if you're saying this is who they are, and this is the Bob, then how are they going to vote against this? Because who are they saying that was with the people in the transatlantic slave trade? Was it not the Israelites? Help me. That's all I'm saying. So for them to vote against it, then who they vote against? They vote against their own people, supposedly? All right. So anyway, we're going to switch gears real quick, all right? So that was it. That was my little thing. Plus, I got so much more, but that ain't it. What I always tell y'all in times like this is the time we need to pay attention to following the money. We need to figure it out, right? Because whenever the billionaires are posting everyday stuff in the middle of a war, like it ain't a war, then I think some of y'all need to pay attention to where they might know something that we don't. And if they ain't scared and they ain't doing all this other shit, then so we should be prepared. So investing is one thing that we talk about all the time on this platform. And today, who I got coming up on the platform today is going to help me reinforce that even more. So I'm about to bring her up. So this is what we doing. Let me get to my guest real quick. Yo, Bridge, what's up?
Yo, hey, Raw One, thank you for having me. What's going on?
Yeah,
Let's
ain't nothing,
talk about it.
Yeah. Hey, yo, definitely appreciate you coming on the platform this evening. Word up.
Yeah.
And so before we get into anything, do me a favor, just let the people know who you are and then tell them why you're on the platform this evening.
Okay. So my name is Bridge Jackson. Uh, working on a fintech app, right? Invest in a social trading app designed for people like us. People are traditionally left out of the game. So that's what I'm doing. A lot of times people don't invest because they need to learn. They don't understand what all the numbers and this and that is about. So our goal is to get rid of some of that confusion, all that Wall Street jargon and gatekeeping and the way they have it set up for only certain people to really understand it. My goal is to break it down so we all understand it, so we can get on the $1 trillion that trades every day on the Nasdaq and the New York Stock Exchange, not 1 billion. We're talking about 1 trillion on a daily basis that trades back and forth. So, my goal is to make an impact. Game changer, disruptor. I'm coming after every one of them, Robin Hood or whoever is out there, because they're not for us. They're not creating a platform for us to understand and not breaking it down. So that's what I'm here for.
Facts. And I think that's important that people get the education. First of all, I think what's important about our conversation today is that, in our space, we think that the things that are available to us, it only comes from the other side. And I'm thinking about when it comes down to like the Robin Hoods and, all of those things, the Coinbases and all these places, is because they market, they put themselves in your face. Right. But I think with those platforms is how people should use the basis of their information to learn about it. So let me ask you this. In the space that you in, what motivated you to learn about this whole tech space? Because you said an app, so that's tech.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So tell me what put you in that mindset in the first place.
Ah, there's a few. I'm gonna have to give my shout out to my dad. I lost him back in June, but I remember when I was like, oh man, like 13 years old. He took me. I don't know, there's this store called Montgomery Ward. They ain't around no more, but he took me in there and I begged him. I was like, man, buy me a computer, buy me a computer. So we went in there and he was hard working construction work, and he took his credit card out and he said, I'm gonna buy you this. I believe it was a Gateway. No, Packard Bell. That's what it was. This thing was
Wow.
heavy.
It was huge. It had a
We had
big
to,
back, you know what I'm saying?
two of us had
Yeah.
to lift to get it in the car, and then the other pieces and this and that. So, my dad really had a strong belief that the technology was the future. And this app is actually inspired by him. I have another story, if you want me to share that, that's the reason I started it. Raw, like I remember I was in the kitchen. I was like with my mom and dad. I was probably a little bit older, probably like 14, 15. And my dad went, he talked to some friends, and it was like, buy Microsoft, buy $7,000 of Microsoft. So he got this windfall, he ran it by my mom. And right, you already know what happened. The old Florida
Shut
Evans
it
came
down.
out. Boom. I was just, why are you spending this?
Yeah.
Why are you spending this money on this? We need to get,
Yeah, yeah,
she
yeah.
need clothes, and
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
he missed that. That was his missed Microsoft moment. And if he would have made that investment, you're talking about roughly 1.5 to 2 million, because Microsoft has flipped over quite a bit since 1993. And I said, nah, we can't let this keep happening. We can't have that kind of regret in our community. So that's what really sparked me on the tech side and the finance side.
Both. Dope, because that's the motivation, right? So whenever I've been talking about it on the platform, although I don't come from an expert perspective, right? It's just an investor perspective, right? And an information perspective. So whenever I do that, I tell people like, you know, you can never say you don't have the money to invest. You just don't have the mindset, right? Because if you look around in your house, you look in your kitchen, you look in your pantry, you look anywhere where you hold these so-called just in case foods, you'll see a whole bunch of your investing just sitting in there not doing nothing, getting stale. You wind up throwing things away. You never, you know what I'm saying? Even the thing, and you don't understand that that is your wealth right there, right? On top of, knowing what to invest in. So let's talk a little bit about your beginnings of that, because one thing about the tech space, right?
Mhm.
But with finance, that's one of the, you know what I mean? That's one of them ones, because most of the experts that talk about finance, they talk about those platforms that you talking about, or a broker, right? They don't talk about it from a perspective like, I have an app. We can watch Earn Your Leisure. They talk about investing all the time. I, all the different things,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not in the sense of, here, it's pay me to teach you, get what you can from here that I'm giving you free,
Mhm.
but there's no platform
Right.
that they could send you to. So that's what I like about what you're doing. So talk to me a little bit about that, because the finance part is important. Talk to us about why you felt like that was important when it came down to tech.
I just feel like, because the conversations are there, right? Like, you'll have that
Mhm.
conversation at the water fountain at work, about stocks, and
Right.
then it'll stay at the water fountain. Or you might, like, I can recall me and a couple of coworkers, we created a WhatsApp, and our goal was to
Mm,
trade, well, invest and deal with stocks. And yeah, it was cool for about a month or two, right? Then it fell off because WhatsApp is a messaging app. It's not an investment app geared toward investing. So
mm,
that's what made me realize, hey, maybe we need a place where we can create a community. Like on We Invest, you can go on there. You can create like pods. Say me, you, one of our homeboys. Say, hey, let's talk about this, and we can create our own pod and really be in there, having that conversation. And when your homeboy online, it'll give you an alert. You can get on there, talk about investing. So that's what I feel like is missing, like that ecosystem and that community vibe. Also the learning, that's another part of it. We're gonna have a robust learning piece. That's really gonna grab hold of the new technologies. I know everybody's talking about AI, but we're gonna have those AI coaches just for you. If you don't know what a stock is, you go on We Invest, your coach gonna get you where you need to be. If you a little bit better, okay, your coach will understand that, and it'll bump you up a level. So the goal is to get better than where you was yesterday when it comes to investing. So that's kind of what that's
yeah.
what I drive with the app.
Right. And that's cool too, because you guys are education, right? Based, not just here, invest in this. Here, connect your credit card here and then just go. Like, you
Yeah.
guys are actually teaching people what it is. Do you guys have a component on the app where they could use virtual money to learn in the trade space, or it's just whenever they decide to go live, it's just actual money at that point?
So right now we're building our MVP 1.0. That's our first iteration of the app. So there's going to be a
Okay.
couple of 2.0, 3.0. This first one is just going to be the community and the learning. We're just really going to get our user base up. But in our next launch, we're going to have paper trading, right? So you'll be able to go on
Mm,
there and really just practice, and that'll connect to those learning modules. You'll be able to, like, you go to a learning module, what's short selling, then you can actually go over to the simulated part and actually execute a short sale. So those are the things. Finance is tricky. It's there's a lot involved, and a lot of times I
right.
think our people, we're afraid because it's just so much, and then on top of that, it's money, right? That
Yeah.
fear factor. Oh, it's gambling, and so you get all those different vibes going back and forth about it,
Mhm.
when in essence is really one of the ways you really gain wealth in America.
Right. And besides that, I think people get turned off because they watch the day-to-day movement of stocks when that's not the vibe. The vibe is the long haul, right? But day traders have kind of gassed people up a little bit too, because they do a lot of lifestyle promotion and marketing, right? Where they say, if you come trade with us, we doing day trades, whether it's Forex, whether it's whatever, this is what we're doing every day. And I think people, they get turned off by that or get scared by that because of the way the market, because of the news. The news will, let you know the market, the NASDAQ is up, if it's down, if it's this, if it's that. And then that makes people scared because they know it's volatile, versus the people who understand that investment is not about right now. It's about the future, right? We want to buy low, sell high. We do not want to be emotional when it come down to investing. Investing is the most non-emotional thing that you can ever do. It's like, if you are a real estate investor, you cannot be emotional. You can't walk up to the house and like, I would. It ain't you that gotta live there. It's not that. You gotta take your emotions out of it, and that's the thing about investing. It's not an emotional thing. It's you have to learn the vibe. So I'm glad that you guys have that piece, educational piece in there. How
Yeah.
many of y'all is it that is part of the squad that you have that's helping develop this app?
So the thing is, I keep it at 10 plus me. So I use an Ocean's 11 theory. Everybody, a lot of people seen that movie, right?
Mhm.
So, I'm not a web developer, so I have 10 of the best qualified people running, data analytics, web dev, and I'm number 11 because at the end of the day, the goal is just to end up at that water fountain, right? And have
Right.
that team that I put a lot of trust in my team. We're pretty strong. I'm out here in Washington, so a lot of them, some of them University of Washington students. I love my students,
Yeah.
love my interns. I love to give people an opportunity, to really, really be a part of something special. So it's normally it's 11 of us.
Oh, that's dope. Nah, I like that because, like I said, in the tech space right now, I know most of us are looking at social media platforms, right? Developing that. So the fact that you're developing a financial app that helps, not only educate, but at some point, it will allow people to actually trade on it is a good look, right? Because that's where it first starts. And I think linking with a lot of people who do things like futures and commodities and different things like that, I think you guys would do great in working together as far as whenever it comes down to the education piece and doing more podcasts or doing these type of events where you guys are speaking to people because futures and commodities are one of those investments that people don't understand is the way the world works, right? So they that's one that I think people have missed in the information of what to invest in. People know stocks,
Mhm.
even if they don't know how. They know about it. They've heard about Apple. They've heard about Nvidia. They've heard about all of these things, but
Yeah.
very seldom do people know that yeah, the corn, the eggs that you guys are talking about. There are people right now when the groceries get high and all that other stuff. There are people making money right now because they invested it in a commodity. They bought it low, and then when the prices start to rise based on this war or whatever, they started to sell these bushels, for high, and now they're millionaires, right? Only just in the sake of the war, because people don't understand that these things are out here. So, how are you guys getting the whole message out about besides doing podcasts, of course?
Yeah.
How else are you guys moving the word and letting people know that you're out here?
Well, I mean, we're early, all right. So I mean, we have a TikTok channel.
Mm,
We cover a lot. We cover a few areas, right? So our TikTok channel is more like because, like you say, the trader. The trader is a person who wants to, go in and out of stocks on a daily basis, short term. So we introduce things like, like prop trading. If you don't have a whole lot of money and you feel like you want to get in on that type of action, well, you can prop trade, start jump on a combine, test your luck, or well, not luck, your skill set. And at the end of the day, if you lose your combine, you don't lose your bank account. You're not losing your rent money, but you're still getting that practice in. So that's one of the elements we're going to have is something like called a prop lab where you can get into that space if that's your thing, right? Because there are traders that are millionaires, but
yeah, facts.
trading is hard. Like, I remember you said earlier, like people glorify it and everything. Trading is hard. Like there's a book out there called Market Wizards, and
Yeah,
it is maybe a list of the 50 best traders of all time. And you'll see that it's almost like being a doctor, a lawyer. Like this stuff is not easy. And it really, and my goal is to let people know, hey, don't just look on TikTok and see people like, saying they have their chart and this and that. Show us the payout. Show us where
mm,
you actually passed the combine. So that's a part of what we're going to try to help people learn how to prop trade if that's what they want to do, right? If they want
yeah,
to invest, we'll teach them long-term invest, how to invest long-term. So, we want to spread it out. We want to give everybody an opportunity to do what they want to do as long as they're doing something. Like you said earlier, can't just sit around and not do nothing because,
Facts.
you know, you're not, inflation gonna eat you up. The money, if you save and just save, okay, I'm gonna put $100 up. Yeah, that's great. But if you're a little bit older, like myself, it's like, okay, you don't have the time. You know, it's a time element. If you're young, 18, 19, oh yeah, put your money up, $100 a week or $100 every month. Yeah, you'll compound it out. You'll get there. For people like me, it's like, okay, I need to really invest and I need to pick the time to invest. You know, I don't give investment advice, but you know, we look at the war, a lot of these tech stocks are taking a beating. You know, the Dow is off in a correction, which is when I say correction, the market, you're dropping 10%, you're in correction territory. But as we all know, we was in correction territory during the COVID phase. And then what, 6 months later, boom, we back out of it. So I don't, you know, I don't really want to get into the political side, but sometimes I think they create these wars for, you know, they rich crony. Let's drop these, let's pull these stocks down. And then if you in the know, you know to buy cheap, the 401k is the 401k. That's going to do its thing regardless. So sometimes when we in these fearful moments, like Warren Buffett explained, these are probably the better times for you to be looking at the market and find you some on the clearance rack on sale.
No, that is the vibe. That's the best way to invest. You know, we talk about it on here just on educational basis, not as an investor, you know, or like a financial advisor. But we say people, hey, listen, when it's red, that's when you need to pay attention. You don't need to look at the fact that it went red. Everything goes up and down. What you need to look at is the fact that it went up and it goes up. Right. So you get in, like you said, when it's low. That's the whole thing. And I think because day traders, there are some day traders that are really successful, but it is a skill set to it, right? It's almost like a prediction game. Like you have to almost be in a position to train your brain to be psychic in such a way, right? Fortune teller style, not really like a psychic, but like fortune teller style, where you can see where the market is going and you can time it and do what you need to do, but you're constantly looking and searching. And you know, you get it, but that's the vibe. And I heard a lot of times from the day traders is that, you know, they lost, but when they hit big, right? But then they take some L's along the way. So you got to be willing to risk a little bit, right? So fear, mindset. Let's talk about that real quick. How did you get the mindset to get over the fear of investing? Because one thing about it, you said, thanks to your dad, you were able to, you know, get you in the tech space. But that fear that most people feel, you know, face when it comes down to that, how did you get over that in order to get in this particular space?
I mean, it came from a lot of things, right? You know, it's who you surround yourself with, right? You know, I went to school and kind of accidentally ended up majoring in finance. That wasn't I did not want to go on to Wall Street. I didn't like that was not my thing. And I realized it very quickly when I graduated that no, people like me that no, I'm not the one they're really looking for. So you know, I think about a lot of times when I got over the fear. Number one, I do a lot of reading or have the research around me. There's a ton of finance books out there, right? Like you mentioned earlier, Audible. Sometime I'll just pop one in, you know, and just ride on out to the finance book. But there's some key things, you know, once you start getting underneath it, like there's something called a stock trader's almanac. And this thing goes back to 1900, like the beginning of the market. And every year it tells you exactly what happened. And if I had my almanac and I pull it out now, the last time Trump was in office, the market tumbled February, March, April, May, June. That's in the almanac from the last time he was in office. And he's there now, and the same cycle is occurring. So those are the tools that you kind of gotta, you know, really start to figure out. And that's why I created this app where, you know, I can show people the resources. And the more you know, the less fear you'll have.
Mm.
Even with companies, like you go on the Nike website, I always like to use Nike because, we all like Nike shoes. Most people have a pair of Nikes, but in any company you want to invest in, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a little button that say investors, and you go and you click that button, and that's going to open up a whole world of that company outside of you buying the shoe. You're going to have the 10K, you're going to have the quarterly reports, presentations, their forward thinking statement. They're going to write in that 10K what they feel like might actually go wrong with their own company or what might actually go right. So, investing, you don't take it lightly. It's research, right? You got to get down in the weeds. So I always hold true before I buy a stock. I'm looking at the 10K.
That's cool. And that's good information for people to know, like, or even for them to figure out what the 10K is, right?
Yeah.
But these are all tools that will help a person figure it out, right? And I think at some point, the people who get turned off whenever they hear that they have to do something, right?
Mhm.
So the moment that we say, hey, we got this information for you, they sitting there waiting for you to just give it to them. All right, so just say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when you say, yeah, here's the information, you got to go here and do this. And they go, oh, man, I got to go do something? I thought you was going to just tell me
Yeah.
what to do. You mean I got to
Right.
go figure it out? Even though you telling me, it's like, yeah, I'm just telling you what to figure out. Not that I'm going to tell you exactly where you should put your spare change. It's like, yo, hold on. I'm not going to tell you to go invest in Nike if you don't wear Nike. I'm not going to tell you not to go invest in this if you don't. That's not my point. My
Right.
point is, if you figure out how investing works, you can figure out where you want to put your money. That's the point. And that's the thing that turns people off, right? Is that they come to people for information, but they want people to do it for them. They don't, they want to learn it enough, but they still want you to do it for them.
Yeah.
They don't want to learn it so they could do it themselves. Like, you teach a person something, you can teach something that will help them in their life, but they will not retain that information. Why? Because they will rely on you to do it. And that's where people keep coming back to certain places, and they're able to monetize off of them. Let's say like Earn Your Leisure, for example. These guys talk about the stocks and they tell you all of these different things and about markets and about trends, right? But if you really want to get down to the meats and, and potatoes of it, you got to pay into their whatever their system is, and then they'll help you along the way. Right. But it's so easy for a person to help you along the way if you're paying them. But then when it comes down to you actually learning the information so you can fish for yourself, oh, no, I ain't got time. Oh, I ain't got time for that. Now, listen, here's my money. Do what you do. Let me see what happens when it comes back, because you do. That's the way people look at it, and that's what Wall Street is. Like, that's what people don't remember. Like, they don't get that. Wall Street is a bunch of people who said, hey, here's my money, go do it. And the people making money, whether your money makes money or not. Right? But the Wall Street is full of people who are a bunch of rich people using other people's money. And that's why whenever people get into this moral thing about investing and, on their jobs and all these other things, it's just, it's weird to me because of these particular situations. It's like, y'all, do y'all not know that these people are using your 401k that you got sitting over there? They're using that to trade off of. Right now, your company that you got your 401k in, or your whatever it is that you got as a saving, they're using that money to trade on the day-to-day basis. We got our money in the bank, boom. Fractional reserve banking, boom. They loaning out your money, right, to these other people, charging them an interest, and they giving you 0.44 something percent on you just holding your money in the bank. But they're using your money to go out there and lend to other people. And once people realize how finance really works, I think it'll make people either angry at first, right, to understand that y'all are just financing a bunch of people thinking that you're morally doing something right. Oh, you got your money in the bank. Oh, you got a savings. Oh, you got all this. Yeah, and so the people that's on the golf course, when you ride past them on your lunch break, that's who's using your money.
Yeah.
So what it's that energy that I feel like is what's missing in the game of helping people break it down from that perspective, right? Let's just put it down in real life, just real life scenarios. We letting y'all know exactly how you're being used every day. Why wouldn't you want to turn that around? And I think that's where you guys come in at, you, your squad, and people like you, is that you're trying to reverse the mindset of people, right? Getting them out of that whole vibe of go to work every day, pay your bills, wash, rinse, and repeat.
Yeah.
So when your crew and you get together and y'all talk about these things, is what's the type of energy that you think that y'all present when it comes down to y'all? Because you say y'all like an 11, y'all, it's 11 of y'all.
Yeah.
And because it's a lot of different people. And in certain instances, you know how they say groups of people don't really get along all the time, but how do you guys use your communication skills in order to move forward? Because y'all are moving forward in this project.
Yeah. I mean, we communicate, you know, I have a hands-off approach, Ra. Like Raw one,
Mm,
I leave them alone. I have,
mm,
and that's the best communication being a CEO and a founder. I think there is this theory that founders have this like mindset that we grind all night and we sit up and code all throughout the night. I mean, no, I don't. Our meetings and our communication is straight to the point. My UX UI designers, which they figuring out how the user is going to go through this interface, they know that we're going to need elements. And then when we had a meeting last night and I had to communicate, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to pull gamification into this. Um, that's tough because regulations with fintech, you can't gamify things to the point where people blame us if things go south.
mm.
So we have our weekly meetings. We use a lot of platforms to communicate, software, and we just kind of run it like a well-oiled machine. We use Slack. We talk on Slack. It's not email driven. Like they're not really sitting back answering emails. Like I use the Slack. If they have a question, they drop it in the Slack. If we need to hop on a call, we can get on a huddle. So it's kind of like an ebb and flow. Every day can be different. We run into problems. I back up. I let them fix it. And if they can't fix it, then I go a little bit higher up the food chain and get a little bit more experience. Web dev in there to kind of pull things together for us.
Wow, that's good. So it's basically the reason why I asked that is because communication is important whenever it comes to leading a team, right?
Yeah.
Making sure people know exactly what's expected, but letting them know that you're willing to jump in the fire with them. I think a lot of leadership misses that part. You got a lot of people who like to tell people what they do, but not really want to jump in and get it done themselves if they have to, right? So I think that's the vibe when it comes down to, you know, the up all night or the coding or the behind the scenes things that take place because, you guys are still in a really early stage of marketing. Whenever it comes down to marketing, it's going to be a lot more communication going at that point. Because once you get to the point where things are start to roll out, that marketing is a beast. And I think, one thing about having a product, whether it's a digital product or a physical product, the way you market, it takes a everyday, not you don't get no days off for marketing, right? Because it's not a single person in the world who don't know who McDonald's or what McDonald's is, but
Mhm.
every day you're going to see a commercial from McDonald's. McDonald's spends a majority of their profits in marketing to people who already know who they are. So whenever we have products that people don't know, how much more so are we not to market every single day? And this is the mindset that I think a lot of people have to adopt when it comes down to those things too. It's like, don't think just because you did something once a day, you can't post once a day.
Mhm.
Right? Because even McDonald's, like you go up there, of course they got the money to do it, but that's only because the person not doing it themselves. But kind of think about it. McDonald's will show you a McRib, they'll show you a chicken nuggets, they'll show you a sandwich, they'll show you combos, they'll show you just the drinks, they'll team up with a movie, they'll do all these things, and you'll see every last one of them throughout a day. You'll never just see one McDonald's commercial throughout a day. And I say it in that sense of letting you know how important it is to market. Even when you're successful, you can never feel like you've done enough when it comes down to your brand, right? That's why even when we talk, I say, if I'm on camera, I got on collective. I got on my brand. You know, very, very there. You will never catch me on camera without my brand on, unless it's somewhere that, you know, I guess it's for that, you know, funeral, whatever. Wherever you got to, you know, wear outside. I don't have my own suits yet, right? So whatever that Bob is, okay, bet. But in anything that I have control of, I'm gonna have my own brand on. You never catch me without it. It doesn't mean, you know, like people have this false sense of ego, right? They say that, you know, you're just doing it out of ego, but I'm like, no, no, no. I'm doing it because McDonald's is doing it, and they successful, and they got everybody in the hospital, but they still successful, right? The food is killing people, but they still successful. You still see the drive-through pack. You still see, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day,
Yeah.
That's why until you are where, you know, until you can tell me another reason why, I'm like, yo, just McDonald's. That's it. Same, that's it. Simple. You don't argue with people. Why do you wear your stuff every day? McDonald's. Say McDonald's. Yeah, it's plenty more, but I'm just saying, like, what? The simplest one, you know, McDonald's. That's why. So look, when people are considering trying to learn, is there, you guys, do you have your own podcast talking about things, or are you open to communications with people about the education piece before you actually roll out the app?
I mean, the thing is, what I'm actually doing now. So right now we have the app. It'll launch on the 15th, the first version, right?
Okay.
And in
Okay.
any startup, if you know the history of startup, the first version is not going to be the version we see next year or the following year. It's just something, you know, a baseline starting place. But like we have the free version. You can go in there for free, you know, check some things out. Then we have a light version, very reasonably cost. I mean, it's $10 one time for the first 2,000 users. And then we have a VIP version. That one's a little bit different. That one's $50 one time. But what happens is I'll give you one-on-one coaching with that $50 VIP version. So not only is it, the element of that is I want to talk to my users. I want to see exactly what you want us to build. You know, I can sit up here and be like, oh, I think this would be cool to add to this, or I think I can add this and that. No, the customers, the users, you'll be the person that's building the app. So you know, that's our strategy, and that's what we really want to do. One of our other initiatives at some point, Rob, we want to create wine and stocks. That's going to be our next plan of action, because number one, wine is easier on you. If you drink wine, you know, it has a little bit better effect versus maybe a harder liquor. You know, you can,
Right.
it's better for your heart. And, you know, I'm in
Right.
Washington State. We're in the
Right.
second largest wine producing state in the country. So I get a hold of a lot of wine. There's a young lady, there's a African-American woman out here. She runs one of the biggest wineries. So my goal is to have wine and stocks where we're showing you a little, you know, touch of class, get your wine, and also get your investing on. So that's something that's in the pipeline. You know, my goal is to not only be a thought leader and help people. Like even earlier, you know, I always like to drop knowledge and try to give people as much help. Like hopefully they use it, but we're going to design the app where, you know, you don't have to read the whole 10K. If you click on that particular company, it'll break it down for you. So you don't have to go through all that. So we're going to try to make it as easy as possible for you to step your game up in the world of investing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And being that you guys are a startup and stuff like that, do you guys have like a crowd fund, or are you guys sourcing outside investing into you guys' platform? Is that something that you guys are doing too?
We're going to start Probably once we get our MVP launched in about a week or two at the latest, we're going to engage WeFunder, Kickstarter, some of those things right there. And like you mentioned earlier, marketing, right? The build is that might have been the easiest part of this, but now when we start moving into the marketing, maybe entertain some affiliate marketing stuff where, because right now times are hard, right? People need extra income, and what I plan on doing is try to get that affiliate marketing program working. If you sell a light, you get 50%. If you sell a VIP, I give you half. It's 50-50 split. And I'm also, you're helping people to, gas is crazy right now. So, hey, them 4 customers you bring, we invest, bring you $100, brings me $100. And bigger than that, it brings them knowledge to continue to grow generational wealth.
Facts. Yeah. And it also could teach them about that too, because actually petroleum and gas is something that can be invested in as well too, right? And that's why I said something about the future in commodities too, because that's another thing. There's people talking about crude oil and things like that. There's somebody right now making money off of oil, although there's certain people who are not getting the oil, right? So I just want people to know, like, the mind it's like that, like it's just vast, and how investing works and how your road to wealth can be obtained, right? It's not as far-fetched as people think. But like you said, even you making it as easy peasy as possible, you still gonna have that individual still gonna have to do the work.
Yeah.
Right? They're still gonna have to retain the information, and they're gonna have to practice, system, not luck, right? They gotta practice system, not luck. You can't practice luck in investing. You have to just practice systems and learn it and stick to it, right? So before we get out of here, I think it's only right that we give people your information on first, how they can find the app, how they can find you, and also to reiterate again your 3 tiers of the ways that you are moving things. So if a person does want to get that one-on-one, they know they can get the VIP section, and they can get with you $50 one time. There's not, people cannot say that that is something that's not worth the investment. For a person to give you a one-on-one, all you have to do is pay $50 one time. So let's give the people out your information real quick.
Yeah. So you can catch us. So our website is weinvest.ai. Please go on there, sign up. Right now, we're still under construction, but once we get up and running, you'll have the opportunity. You have the free version. We have the light version, which is only $10 one time. You'll get access to our tools. You'll get a sneak peek at what's to come behind the beta. And then the $50 version is basically that one-on-one coaching. We'll maybe introduce you to some prop trading if that's what you want to get into. So, I mean, check us out. We're on all the socials, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, inbox me, do whatever you need. Like, we're on the come up, and anybody that's willing to jump on board and support We Invest, we trying to help you build generational wealth. That's our game plan. That's our goal.
Facts. And give them the site again. Give them the site one more time.
It's We Invest. So it's spelled we like French, OUINVEST.ai.
Right.
AI.
Show them the logo, because I want them to see it. Yo,
okay,
yeah.
I was lean backs. Yep, that's the logo.
Yeah.
We're doing something different. This is for us. This is created to make it simple. Take all that, jargon and all that confusion out of the investing game. We're gonna help you get there if you want to get there, right?
Yeah, man, that's the vibe. It's the mindset, right? They gotta want it in order to get it, but it's there for them if they want it, right? So what I want to do is I want to tell everybody that watched tonight and all the people that's gonna watch the playback, I hope you guys got some type of motivation and also got a little bit more education on what the whole energy is behind investing. I don't want people to think that whenever I get up here and I say things, because one lady said that she felt convicted after I said the whole thing about, your snacks and stuff being your investment. And I think that was a good thing that, people are actually can understand that, I can only blame myself because, once you get to a certain age, you feel like there's something that you cannot do. But we all have something to live for. If you do, then that is the generation you need to make sure that is straight coming from behind us, because our parents before us, a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us didn't think about us. They just thought about the moment. They thought about how to survive. They didn't think about us at all. Now we have to change that narrative. We have to think about our children. We have to think about the people who are coming behind us and where would we like them to be. Right? We all got this thing in life where we want to dream, but very seldom do people want to create it, right? Because they think that because they think it and dream it, that's how it's going to happen. But no, you got to put in the work. So thank y'all so much for watching. Thank y'all for watching each and every week. And remember, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. So until next week, y'all, I want y'all to stay fly out there, and I'm going to say peace.